So here's this back again. Those guys need to be smaller. That's good. Captions there. Lori's Naomi. Chelsea is Sadie. All right. So intuitive eating. You don't want to do IN?
What intuitive? We can indicate that. I don't want to do this.
No.
It's not right.
Yeah, I'll just do IN.
It's
Okay.
it's more like a intuitive eating, because it is what it is. Just establish.
Yeah, IN.
Spell it and
then. And fitness will spell at Asheville, North Carolina, Asheville. Body autonomy, body liberation, rejecting diet culture and racism.
Okay, so body autonomy means like you're making decisions for your own body, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have to expand. Like spell it and then like or something,
Or is like body like autonomy from like.
That seems like you're having like an out of body experience to me, if I see that. We can also just what comes up, because, we're interpreters.
All right.
And maybe let's not perseverate. What was the other thing?
Body liberation?
Liberation.
Mm-hmm. No F's, okay. Body liberation. Are we doing race?
Unless you want to do L's, like.
No, I don't want to do L's. Racism, we're spelling it?
Always spell.
Okay. Their name, satisfaction factor.
What is that? Oh, that's the name. It's a proper noun. You're supposed to spell.
All right, we'll spell it.
Satisfaction factor. And they can see it right there, right?
It's going to be there. Mm-hmm. The captioning is there. They'll probably be captioning on YouTube if we put it up on YouTube as well, so they can.
You have to make sure it's not like.
You know
what I mean? Like QuickTime captions and YouTube. We should disable the
way
we talked about this.
The way, yeah, they can disable it or not disable it. The captioning is coming up here, like right where my elbow is.
Is it accurate? You're on the bottom for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So far, it's accurate. We'll see what happens.
We'll see with her twang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like watching my kids come up on captioning. Okay.
So we should establish. If we're going to reference each other, how do you want to do that?
Like waving, and you can do like just Sadie or whatever.
No, sorry. I mean, like before, I feel like I wanted to like. Pronominalize. I can't say that word because I wanted to pronoun you before, but I didn't know whether I put you over here, but then I noticed that you put me over here. So like we're like. Does that make sense? Is that too nitpicky?
It might be too nitpicky. We can do that.
No.
It's cute. Reminds me of the Brady Bunch.
I'm just gonna set you up over here because I always set people up on my right first. It's just how I be.
Somebody was at my door. Why was somebody at my door?
Welcome to Satisfaction Factor, the podcast where we explore how different diet culture
Naomi,
makes
is there a sign?
more satisfying.
Is there a sign?
Or whatever. I still maintain this very picky, selective eat.
Okay, I need this stuff to work with me. Is there a sign for podcasts? Is it a radio show?
Oof. Hold up one second. We find out. Podcast.
Oh.
And Speak says that. I don't know.
I'm still thinking the radio show makes more sense to me. Radio speaking
Hold
show.
up. Reddit knows everything. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've done a decent amount of digging, and the best thing I can find is this video. Okay. One second. Spelled. People are saying I use the sign for radio, and I'm seeing. Oh, you're not here.
No.
That's a sign for podcast.
Radio. Radio. Or
Yeah, I think it's this to me. I think like
radio.
sitting around, like listening to FDR's fireside chats. That's what I think.
You don't think it's
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It like people know what a podcast is. So whatever comes off your hands.
show? Okay. Podcast.
Okay, so you were first, right?
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't know their voices yet.
So which one is this? Okay. I don't know what's going on either. Oh, it's the same.
Welcome to Satisfaction Factor, the podcast where we explore how ditching diet culture makes our whole lives more satisfying.
It's too much. All right. I should have thought this out better.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Satisfaction Factor. I'm Naomi Katz, an intuitive eating, body image, and self-trust coach providing anti-diet support to free-thinking grown-ups who want to reclaim their autonomy and consent from diet culture.
And I'm Sadie Simpson. I'm a group fitness instructor and intuitive eating counselor, and I help other fitness professionals disengage from diet culture so they can improve their program enrollment, engagement, and impact and retention without
shame
and manipulation.
Awesome. Hey, Sadie.
Are you ready? The beginning's going to be a rough road. And then I had to go back to normal. Okay, I'm going to hit record on this computer.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to Satisfaction Factor.
I hate that sign. I'm already starting over. How do I say welcome? I'm just going to say hi, right? Yeah, okay. For real now.
Welcome to Satisfaction Factor.
Recording stopped.
Dang it!
Let's debrief. That's okay. So
I wish I had taken notes.
this will be our aftercast. We're going to talk about our thoughts, our feelings, what we did, and we'll keep the ASL and ASL, the English and English, that kind of stuff. Whereas, just to state intentions, like I wanted to state, so I wanted to use that video as applied practice. Also, I want to support it and make it accessible in the meantime. So we didn't fully prep for this. I prepped for it in the fact that I've read some of the books mentioned. I know one of the people in the podcast. I haven't, unfortunately. The shows are long. I didn't realize they were so long, which I want to talk about. But because they end, like if I ever listen to it, I've listened to bits and pieces like on my way somewhere. And so I've never really fully listened to it. I'm glad we
don't have the concept of the full scope.
No full scope concept. But I'm really glad because now I know I need to go watch Lucifer.
I was thinking that.
Stop talking. I need to write this down. We need to switch. Okay, so yeah. So now I need to watch Lucifer. So that's really all we did for prep. We listened to their very first short podcast, which is just like their introduction. We didn't even listen to that all the way through. We just sort of got a feel for who they were and then went for it. And we, in that, also decided who's going to be who. We talked about some of the fears we had. For example, I thought it would make sense for me being Naomi since I know Naomi and I'm accustomed to her speaking style. I was also afraid and apprehensive because for me, English not being a first language, I get scared and intimidated with big words, and I know she uses a lot of big words. So in the end, I went with her, and I'm glad because it was challenging, and I did have some stumbles, and I appreciated that. And we also talked about some name signs. Naomi had a name sign, so we wanted to make sure we incorporated that. So that was really all we did for prep, and then, of course, the technical prep. We had a little bit of an issue with that, but all worked out.
We also discussed if we were going to establish some signs
Oh, right.
for some important keywords. Not that we were focusing on being lexical based and focused on, how would I sign that? But, because you wanted an equivalence with the source text, and the source text used several key phrases again and again and again and again. So in order for that to be equivalent, we needed to make sure that we were using the same signs to represent those phrases again and again and again, that there was consistency there as well.
So, for example, the word fitness, we knew had a different meaning than going to the gym and working out. So how are we going to handle that? We
decided to finger spell it because it's a noun. So,
and we figured they'll expand on what they have it to mean in that moment.
Yeah, and we decided not to have it just be like fitness as in the sign for exercise, because the word fitness carries with it so much more meaning than just exercise, and it's a buzzword. So it's really important because that word fitness has a whole culture wrapped around it. So it's important that lexical item was present.
I just realized I had this whole like Beyonce thing going. Sorry. Wasn't intentional. Didn't turn that off. So, also we tried to look up some signs like Asheville because we know that's where the show is recorded.
Didn't come up,
which is like one of the like catch-22s of prep, right? Like anytime you prep for something, it doesn't come up.
It's not going to come up. The best laid plans of mice and men.
Intuitive eating, we wanted to see if there was any established signs for that, and then we wanted to make our own neutral sign, so we just went with IN.
And then we decided on intuitive eating, and then wound up signing intuitive eating. So, the best laid plans of mice and men. Yes,
yeah, I wrote down IN. That's so funny. I never did
we went intuitive eating with IE.
Oh, okay. Well, I think
so
IE makes more sense, right?
I think it does make more sense as well,
All
yes.
right, good. So that's a new sign. How we were going to play with satisfaction. We didn't. We just fingerspelled the name of the show, and then I signed satisfaction as satisfaction.
We're going to need to talk in a bit about how many titles there were that were mentioned in that.
I gave up the noun rule towards the end, right?
I was trying so hard, and it just...
Can I tell you my saving grace for this was having the caption on?
I noticed you looking down, and I thought to myself, oh, gee, I didn't even think of doing that.
Yeah, when they would say a name and I wasn't sure of the name or how to spell Taurus, if I was like, I'm spelling like a, I'm not spelling
I'm spelling
I'm not spelling a bull, I'm spelling like, so I was like, so I used and then I felt more confident. I might have spelled it right, I might just not have had the confidence.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's my insecurities with language, not being a person. Right. Okay. So other things we looked up, like body autonomy, it didn't come up.
Didn't come up.
Body liberation came up.
It did. We were ready. We were prepared for that.
The concept of rejecting diet culture, we didn't really... I wrote it down as something to kind of plan. I don't think we really talked about it much.
I remember setting it up over here and then rejecting it.
Yeah. I'll have to watch the videotape, but I think I did like a few things like culture and like...
Yeah.
Right?
I remember you doing that.
Okay. Good. All right, great. So then thinking back about... That was all the prep. Now we go into it. That was a hard start for me. That's what I wrote down. That was a hard start. I tried to assess why it was a hard start, and at 5 minutes in, I felt better. I felt like I was a little bit more in control, and it was because I was able to acknowledge that was a hard start. I missed her whole introduction. I missed half of her job titles. And
I think I did as well. She had some job titles that I wasn't able to catch.
It was hard to get my footing, and so I started kind of like, okay, let's look at this. And I felt like coming in, like I had like a lot of high stakes for myself, even though I know this is like applied practice. Like I do want to make it accessible. I have these weird things that I want to be like perfect ASL, and I felt myself leaning a little bit more PSE. There's a lot of, I feel like, important concepts that come up, important content that comes up, and a lot of new vocabulary words that I hear often in this kind of work, but I don't see in our work. So I was afraid of how to get that vocabulary out there, and then having that coming into this with like, I don't know big words, ridiculousness, was really stressing me out in the very first few minutes. What were your thoughts about the beginning?
So I think that it was a little bit rough at first because I think I had the same experience with you where I was like, wow, this is coming very fast and furious. And oh gosh, I just missed. She gave 4 job titles and I got 2 of them. And so I think that was a little bit, I kind of felt like my feet got like taken out from under me at the beginning. But then I think the thing that saved me was just focusing on affect. And I think that was so much easier for me because these 2 women are friends and they obviously enjoy talking with each other and they enjoy each other's company. And it was really grounding to have your face there in front of me because we're friends and we have a relationship where we talk about real stuff all the time. So I think that it was easier to have that affect and just let the affect kind of carry the message because it felt very natural.
I have 2 questions for that comment. Mm-hmm. My first question is, obviously, I guess it's like, Kalanima's training to focus on the affect, right? And so maybe that, were you conscious of it in the moment? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, were you like in the moment, like CRP, like, I'm going to just drop the C and go for like how I feel? Like, was that a conscious choice for you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
How about you? Did you have any thought process related to that?
I was so focused on my C, because of how I pre-framed all of this. I was so conscious on C, and then I would only kind of think about affect when I was off and when it was you, and I was like, how much, because Naomi's still participating in this conversation. And then I was like, how much of this affect do I need to display? I even wrote down the nervous laugh because there were many times where you were like laughing and I heard a nervous laugh. It didn't look like a nervous laugh. And I was like, should we be incorporating these nervous laughs? And then at the end, so I think I wound up using the off time, like when you were on, to like get my notes down real quick. I even text you like, do you need a break? Like, like
I didn't even see it.
So I wasn't like engaged during the off time, which bit me in the butt a little bit. And also bit me in the butt because she's like, yeah, I've been nodding this whole time. I'm dizzy. And I was like, oh crap. I should have been giving you some back channeling this whole time instead of like,
sorry, bug just landed on my face.
Instead of like, writing my own notes.
That's interesting. I think it's just, I think I was trying to stay engaged, because I did know that there were some times where there was some back channeling that I heard, and I wanted to show that, like, laughter or like that, but I don't think I 100% committed to it.
Right.
And it's so interesting that you bring that up because I don't know, it's kind of hard to like separate what was me back channeling to you as my team, like as an interpreter on back channeling, like, yeah, oh, good job, whatever, like, and how much of it is me back channeling as Sadie.
Right.
And I think I did not effectively separate those two because I didn't think that I needed to separate. It didn't occur to me like I need to make a separation here. And I think that that's probably that's a deliberate decision I would make and do differently if we did this again.
You're right. But how? Because there was a time or two where I needed that teaming back channeling. I think you could see on my face, like I was uncertain of whatever I just put out, and And
it's funny because I didn't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Fine. That was it. That was the end of my sentence.
Oh, I was gonna say there were times where I wanted to like feed you or slip it in naturally. Like I think at the beginning you went to spell Enneagram and you weren't sure if it was A or E.
Yeah.
And I know that I spelled an E, so I was like, my interpreter wanted to be like, can I throw up an E for you? And I didn't because I was like, no, I'm Sadie. And so I think that not establishing that
Yeah.
bit us in the butt, like you said.
And it wasn't like honoring the message, right? You were preserving my ego. And I'm saying that, but I don't really believe that because I think you know that it was my ego. And I wrote it down because I'm like, I don't know what an Enneagram is. I don't know what this test is.
Well, after this, we're taking a test.
Okay.
Because guess what?
Cool.
I'm a 9 and a 2. And I was sitting there chuckling.
Oh, really?
Because
I was like, why didn't I prep for this? Like,
you were so, I have to say, you not knowing what the wing was, I was like, how does she know that's what the wing looks like? Because that's what the wing looks like.
I think because you had signed with Sadie the Venn diagram, and so I had at least I had a Venn diagram in my head.
Okay.
And so that's what I went with, and then you were like, "Yep," and I was like, "Okay, good," because I wrote down INIO.
I was like, she knows about the wing, but she doesn't know if Enneagram is A or E. What is going on?
I know what a Venn diagram is. I literally wrote down INIO in Enneagram. That's what I was hearing. I was so confused. I had no idea what they were talking about.
We're taking a test after.
I know it's not possible as interpreters to have access to the source text, right? So it's good that I didn't listen to this prior to this. But then of course afterwards I beat myself up and I'm like, why didn't I prep for this? Why didn't I listen to this? But this is for practice. So good. So I'm not going to beat myself up for that.
Yeah, lesson learned. And but what lesson is learned? We need to hear every single thing before we interpret it in order to be effective? No, that's not real life. So right. It's a lesson. It's showing what happens. There were some names I had never heard before. You know what? I just had to accept that I'm not going to know how to spell them, and that we can look at the notes afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I get stuck on that, I'm going to miss everything after it.
I think I'm so hung up with being criticized for so long for being a bad speller, and it's acceptable in fingerspelling land, but it's not acceptable in other hearing land, and so I think I just put too much. Sometimes I'm in a weird headspace, and
you gotta shake that off.
Yeah, that's my own little issues coming to the surface. I did feel myself being a little too PSC, and it's funny because I had to do this interview yesterday where I interviewed a deaf person, and the two of us were like, "Why are we signing English right now?" And I was like, I don't know. I was like,
we both don't want this.
I was like, should we stop? Do you want to redo it? And I was like, my sitter's here, and she has a CI, so it's sign support. So I've been sign supporting all day, so I tend to take on the last thing I saw, and so maybe I'm influencing you. And she was like, no, my nephews have implants too, and so I was signing and talking for them too all day, and so today I think I was a little bit. That's the last time I signed at all, really, and so I don't know. I feel like I had
that little code switch was there.
It was still stuck. I felt it stuck, and then I was confused because I had signed grade, and then I saw you sign level.
I should have just used your sign.
Well, here's the thing, because grade, okay, now we have initialisms, blah, 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 but I thought level was good, but you didn't say it wasn't. I'm not criticizing, this is my own headspace.
Please.
I didn't see that school was it was not implied, so to just have the levels, you know what I mean? It was
meaning I didn't mention school?
Right, at least I didn't see it, because
Interesting.
I was tuned into,
I'm sure.
The levels, and I was like, is that implied there, or does it need to be explicit?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Or 5th grade, the school is implied.
I mean, maybe it's just who I hang out with, but most of the deaf people that I mean, there's a lot of deaf people that sign grade, and I think that's obviously fine, language choices, whatever. But I'm used to seeing deaf people that I hang out with sign 5th grade. 5th grade. So I think that was just habit, and I didn't even think that would have been a clarifying feature.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, well, because here's my baggage that I'm seeing in you. First of all, I felt like my code switch was a little too far over. And I didn't feel like I was making sense a lot of the times. And when I feel like I'm not making sense, I tend to blame it on not being expansive enough and rushing to get out the message and so I thought in my head it's to say school 5th level not that I should have glossed that in English, but to say, like, that's the longer, clearer path than to just hurry and be like, do you know what I mean? So it's just, like, exposing all of my own little, like...
I understand what you're saying, but I think that this is a completely effective... listen, I think it's a complete... I've seen...
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that the target message accomplished the goal.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
I understand what you're saying. It's what's behind it. It's all of this. I get that.
That just showed to me, like, where my headspace was. You know what I mean? Like, and, like, the choices I was making. Or the choices I wasn't making.
That's so interesting to me. Thanks for sharing that.
Halfway through, are you so now I have, like, halfway through.
Go ahead, please.
I was still, like, I was feeling, like, I wasn't making any sense. I feel like now the reason why I wasn't making any sense is because, so I started, like, doing the blame game. Like, I haven't really been interpreting. If I have been interpreting, it's only been, like, short burst interpreting. And also I know that after this, we have a mentoring session with a bunch of students, and I wanted my ASL to be, like, perfect. And so, I didn't feel like it was. And so that's...
What is perfect ASL?
Like, I know, but I wanted, like, topic first and then comment, and I wanted to use more classifiers, and, like, I felt like I wasn't being clear, and the reasons why I wasn't being clear, we already mentioned.
Yeah. I think that's interesting, but I also think that there's, like, this myth out there that's been perpetuated, and all I'm going to say, without, like, putting labels on people groups, there's a range, and, like, not everyone uses language the same, and the goal is not, I just want to say this for anyone watching, the goal, if you didn't go beautiful ASL, it doesn't mean clear communication didn't happen. And I understand that this is, like, based on, you know, what goals you set for yourself or whatever mindset that you had in the moment. But I think it's important to note that sometimes really strong ASL is not what the language preference of the person that is on the receiving end of the message is. And that's okay, you know?
Yes, and thank you so much for saying that, because I'm realizing now I never had a clear audience person in mind.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no... The only thing I had in mind was, I'm going to get judged by this.
Well, that's where you started off, on the wrong hand.
Did you have a clear audience member in mind?
I don't think so, but I think it's interesting. I think in a way almost like you were my audience member, because I felt like I was actually just, like, having a conversation with you, because we actually talk about this in our private lives too, like this topic and stuff. And so I felt like it was just a little more natural. I didn't have any specific person in mind, but I think I would have probably interpreted differently if my team had been a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I had felt like I was crashing towards the end, and I was like, maybe we should stand up next time. Like, that's always what we tell our students, like, stand up. But I can't envision the two podcasters, like, standing, and it changes the register, right? It makes it more formal.
I don't think I would be able to, because I sit all day and interpret, and I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
Do you think that, can I ask you a question about your process? Mm-hmm. When you keep mentioning that, I don't think I was making sense. I felt like I was crashing and things like that. Like, do you know where, was it CR or P? Like, where was that breakdown happening?
And can it be in both? Because I feel like the past few weeks I've been trying to focus on my P, which is the fact that I don't ever rehearse. I rehearse while I'm composing. There's not a lot of P happening. And so I have been aware of that. Like, I'll start to plan, and then I'll just jump right into prediction, and then I'm composing while I'm planning, which is something that we've been working on with this current cohort group. Anyway, so our group that we're mentoring now, this is what's the topic. And so I realized that I haven't really been utilizing P. And so I feel like I was struggling in both. I wasn't struggling in...
Wait, I'm sorry. P and what was the other one?
C.
Or,
I wasn't struggling to understand. Like, I understood the content. I understand what was happening. But I feel like I had my own sort of issues going on. Right? Like, I'm hungry. There's a thunderstorm. My power's going out. I'm trying to manage 2 computer systems. There's just, like, all these, like, you know, DCS demands, whatever, happening. But I feel like it's an excuse and it's blamey. I don't know. I feel like...
I don't know that it's can I just say, I don't know that it's an excuse. I think it's just a factor. It's a factor.
I don't know. I feel like if I watch it back, I would be surprised if anything made sense.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I disagree, but okay. It's so funny because I think that... Sorry, were you done? Because I don't want to interrupt your flow. I was just going to say that for me, I think a lot of energy went into P as well. And I think that I was hyper conscious of it because of all the prep we did. I'm used to working in video relay where you get no prep.
Right.
The person comes on the screen and they say, here's the Zoom code, go. And you don't know what you're going to be. So my mind doesn't even go to, oh, shoot, I don't have prep. It's just, let's get this done. Whereas today we prepped and I was like, I might have like gone a little overboard thinking like, ooh, we have prep. Oh my gosh, I didn't use that sign we talked about. Oh gosh, that's that word we talked about. Oh no. And I think that a lot of my energy diverted into planning what was going to come off my hands and how it was going to come off my hands because we talked about that before. Can I ask you another question about your process? I noticed that from my observations, it looked like you started interpreting. Sorry, there's like a bug in here. You started interpreting, and then I felt like something in your eyes went like, oh shoot, I need to wait.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like that. I noticed that a lot. Did that happen to you? Or do you want to talk about
totally. That? I felt like at some point it was like we were doing a play, and I didn't want to run over into your character, and so I wanted my stop times to be right. I wanted to be my back channeling to match in the message and not with what I was hearing. And then I noticed that they would start, and then they would be a lot of filler. Like, they would take the floor, but they wouldn't really say their point yet. And so it was like, I have time. Like, I have time to, like, run over. But we didn't talk about, like, what happened. Even at one point when you signed the Naomi part, and I was just like, it's fine, just go. Like, that's what would happen in a play, right? Like, it's fine, let's go. Because I don't want to switch characters now halfway to the end.
Yes, I misheard the voice. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that because that threw me off, too. Because I wasn't sure, am I interpreting? Or am I a character now? Am I in a play? Or am I just... Because if we were interpreting, I would have fed you Enneagram. I would have fed you. I would have been back channeling as Chelsea. I would not have been back channeling as Sadie. Right. But I wasn't sure what my role was.
So interesting.
But the thing is, I could have fed you as Sadie. Right? I could have kept in character and it would have been fine. But I also didn't want to interrupt your process. So it's a double-edged sword. So these are the kind of things that now we know.
Now we know. I wrote down, like, when I texted you at that one point, I know we have to go, but I was like, are you okay? Like, maybe it was the same thing happening for you. I felt like halfway through your message, you got, like, towards the end. So I was like, are you okay? Do you need a break? I didn't know what was going on. Do you remember any of that? Or
yeah, I think I was just getting tired. I mean, I'm thinking about nachos right now.
I know. We're gonna have to.
And I don't know if you ever saw me, like, glance down at my watch, and I was like, what time did we start? I feel like I've been going a really long time. So I think that was kind of like, there was like a little voice in the back of my mind kind of distracting me, being like, hey, when are we done? You know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that also, at first I was like, and then as we went on, I think I did start having more of an internal monologue where I was questioning, like,
wait, should I be feeding? Who am I? I was having an identity crisis. And I think that was kind of like taking some of my energy too at that point. You definitely picked up on that.
Makes sense. I know we don't really talk about like your assigned choices or anything, but I did think it's funny at the end when they said review. And we had just talked about like the kind of review, and then you did review, and I was like
I can't. That happened.
Yeah.
But then, okay, so the first time I said review, and then the second time I made the decision to spell it, because when I felt that happen, I was like, no, that's not what that means. And then I spelled it, and I caught myself the second time. But it's funny, I thought too, I was like, oh, we just talked about this.
All the words we had just talked about came out. Review came up, support came up, like words outside of this. That's why, like, all your conversations, they always come up and benefit.
Pay attention in your conversations.
That's it. That's all the notes I have. I feel like I'm grateful for this. Thank you for practicing with me.
Thank you.
Was anything like triggering or upsetting for you? That too, I wanted to kind of.
I was thinking about the fact that all I've eaten today was like a slice of cheese and 4 Oreos. But then I was like, wait, is this giving me permission to eat like that? Is that okay? But then I was also, I don't know. I think as a woman, I just related to a lot. I definitely like had an eating disorder when I was younger, and I finally got perfect, and then I got married and got pregnant, and now I have all these stretch marks and everything, and I think that obviously, you know, body image is something that a lot of people struggle with, so I definitely related. I wouldn't say triggered, but I think that I definitely related to a lot of the stuff discussed, and it makes me want to read the book now.
Good.
How about you? Were you okay?
I felt, I wouldn't say triggered either. There was stuff where I was like interested in, and, but those thoughts.
I had moments too where they were talking about like certain like cultures and beliefs, like fitness culture and stuff like that. And they're like, and that's like not healthy. And I remember interpreting and thinking like, oh, it's not. Like I totally subscribe to that, you know?
No, that's why it's like, I think as we go through this, hopefully we do more and we learn more, like you'll see why, like when you interpret like Fat Anonymous classes, it's like, it's the worst now.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to stop this because we have our students showing up. So thank you for doing this. I can't wait to do it again.